So hello everyone and welcome back, and we are gonna get in our third match here and now. It's gonna be a Zerg versus Protoss with RagingDino facing off against Thouclao. And well, we are gonna have our co-caster in, and it is gonna be Oreo. So please introduce yourself. What's going on with you, Mr. Oreo?
Hey guys, I'm a Zerg player. I love Zerg. I love complaining about how bad Zerg is, and that's basically my entire personality. So
Yeah, I love it. I
that's
love
all
it. It's
all
really.
you need to know about me.
You just need to have, you just gotta have that race love for yourself. But if you guys don't know about Oreo, he is an Australian Zerg player, and he does have a team. It's a Downfall Gaming, right? You've been with them for a while already, right?
Yeah, about a year and a half now.
That's ridiculous.
Hoping to represent them if there's an ANZ Pro League coming up soon, but we'll have to see with Corona and all that.
Yeah, we'll see, we'll see. But we are gonna be getting first into our maps, but we got our map pool here now, ladies and gentlemen. Our first map is Simulacrum, and apparently we're trying to figure out what the bans are going to be. But anyway, it is kind of half draft right now between our two players, so we'll just get it on with the action immediately anyway.
Alright, well,
Let's go.
in the
Let's
bottom
go.
right, the yellow Protoss from Vietnam, it's Thouclao, aka Miss Fanta.
And on top left, we got our blue Zerg, RagingDino. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our first map, and it will be Simulacrum. Now, it's very, very interesting to see Simulacrum to start things off, because usually this is a map that you put onto your second or third map, but it's a PvZ coming into this one. And what do you expect, Oreo, for this kind of matchup?
Well, this it's pretty centered towards macro play. The third base is really easy to defend with the high ground, like all the attack angles into it are up the ramp. So I'm expecting a macro play from both players at this point, and it looks like that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, but Simulacrum is pretty cheeky as well when you're playing that Protoss. There are a lot of angles you can hide buildings, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get a proxy or two for at some point into the game. But PvZ, another matchup that is the two alien races facing off against one another, and it seems like we are gonna get Dark Impure here, Mr. RagingDino going for that hatchery first. I believe gonna be going for that macro play. In the meantime, here for Miss Panta or Thouclao, gonna be setting up that natural wall. And well, we are gonna be in for a little bit more action, some bigger armies, some bigger matches here and now. So, Oreo, I got a question for you. You were streaming yesterday, right? And what was that all about for StarCraft 2?
So the Thailand and Vietnam and and Malaysia, that's right. They were doing some like practice matches, like best of one, but with 7 games, just for in-house practice and for fun, I think. So I was interested in that because Nameless told me about it. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but one of Xtinct's friends, and I thought it would be really cool to cast them. So that's what I was doing. Sadly, my mic was muted all of last night. I didn't even realize.
So you just basically made everyone else cast for you. I love it. That's how you get some free labor in, and yeah, that's how it is sometimes. I'm glad you guys have picked it up. Honestly, I was able to check it out for a little bit because I was busy myself with the broadcast, and I was like, oh, this is cool. This is cool. I wish I had time for this, but it is what it is. Anyway, though, back to the game. Seems like a whole lot of nothing is going on. We are gonna get our 2 hatcheries set up, and Zerglings versus the Adepta. That's pretty much it. It's your basic run of the mill. Try to go for the harass, get harassed back, go for the poke here and there. And even though it feels like sometimes it's such a system, right, Oreo? But why is it so important to do it every single time?
What to do? What exactly?
To do the basic harassment. It's like sometimes you just get in the motions. You go for the adepts. You go for the zerglings. What's that all about? As a player, what does it force your opponent to do in a way, or what does it make you do in a way too?
So the first Adept Scouts, it's all about scouting the gas usually. So the Protoss wants to see if the Zerg is taking a third or if he's making a Bailey Nest or Rich Warren. So he can decide whether he's going to play his standard macro or he's going to get all in, and he should prepare for that. And then the Zerg's Lings are just to see what the first tech structure of the Protoss is. So if it's Stargate or Twilight or Robo. And in this case it's a Robo which he sees, so he'll be able to prepare for that.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to miss something smack dab in the middle. I think this is the first time I've seen a robo facility used to be part of that natural, and it's literally in the middle of everything. It feels like it really is the core of the strategy. And it's a warp prism to start things up. Observe gonna be next on the list to get a little bit of that protection, but this is very easily seen already by RagingDino. Seems like for Miss Fanta or Thouclao, he's gonna be looking to expose whatever he has in mind. But with the Observer second, it's going to be a little interesting because he's not going to be able to really utilize that vision game. It's going to be putting the Warp Prism in harm's way, but since this is going to be a depth time push anyway with the Resonating Glaives, feels like it is going to be all about those shades, getting the harassment onto many of those hatcheries along the way.
Yeah, and the Dark Imperial has a really good idea that this is coming. He stopped at 42 drones, just massing roaches because he saw the Twilight with his firstlings. And when you see Twilight into Robo, it's basically always going to be the glaive opening. If you see no Dark Shine, so he's just going to mass roaches and try and defend his third base, and he has to watch out for a Dark Shine if it comes down, which it actually does right now as I say that.
Yeah, there you go. When in doubt, go for that Dark Shrine. And it always is just a full different flavor of spice when you do go for that Dark Templar Shrine immediately. Forces your opponent to react, to go check out whatever is going on into the map. And I do like the fact that there is going to be an observer as well to see how the reaction is going to be in the first place. But for our Zerg already for RagingDino, he has the Overseer in question. And well, the Roach is going to be very tanky facing off against the Adepts, really going for the chase. And again, we are going to see the harassment on both sides because the Warp Prism going for the drop. Seems like the main base and the natural gonna have a cascade on over, as there we go with the shades will get cancelled onto that second. In the meantime, drones going down immediately, and RagingDino gonna be pretty angry about what is going on to his base. 7 drones have gone down immediately. A quick strike force going on here and there. Action on all fronts here now for our Zerg, but in the end, with 10-11 drones going down immediately onto that third base, the harassment is ridiculous here, Oreo.
Yeah, this is a crazy amount of drone kills for the only 8 Adepts that were committed, so we'll have to see if Dark Imperial has a good response to the Dark Templars, which he does, because his lair is already done, so if he just makes an Overseer in time, he shouldn't lose his third base, but we'll have to see. Oh, he's already got it done, so the Dark Templar Warpin shouldn't do much, and I think he's not actually in that bad of a spot, because the Protoss has only just started his third base, but we'll have to see how he drones up and whether he can get an economic lead going into the future.
Yeah, he's gonna make sure though he will have enough in the army to defend in the first place. And for now though, it is gonna be Thouclao taking the lead on that working out. Always good to see the non-Zerg race try and take the advantage there. But we already see that RagingDino was anticipating the Dark Templar drop. He went for the Overseer very quickly actually. Even against the Adepts, he already had the Overseer to run on around. Get a little bit of that vision as well to face off against the Shades to begin with. But interesting in transition here for Thouclao. We'll be going into Stalker Tech instead. We'll be trying to get that blink on. See, he already has a pretty strong core of the Sentries, the Immortals, as well as those Stalkers looking to just destroy any kind of Roach-based army.
Yeah, and Miss Fantasy's the Overseer, so he's not even going to try and warp in that many DTs. Usually the Protoss might warp in... Oh, he's actually warped in 4, never mind, but often the Protoss would warp in Glaives Adepts at the same time as Dark Templar and distract with the Glaives while I kill the base, but in this case he's just going to go for the main-based harassment while the Overseer is out of position, so we'll see if we can get any damage on with this.
Seems like though it's already being anticipated, and it will be Thouclao sending all of that back home. Now, of course, the Dark Templar not completely useless if spotted. When you have your initial 4 DT, you can turn them into Archons, but you can also use them for the front line if you want to get that Warblade action going on. But for now, it seems like RagingDino is slowly but surely trying to move on in. Archons now being warped in, and this is pretty much such a classic harassment from the Protoss. You can either go for the double Immortals, you can go for the double Archons, but right here, right now, Thouclao will have to pay attention because he loses one of those blue balls of energy immediately, as it is Dark Impure or RagingDino looking to concentrate his forces into the front line.
Yep, the Thouclao's just +1 has just finished, and he's staying on a pretty low drone count, only 61 with no third gases, only just starting now, so he's going to try and hit a strong timing while Dark Impure is still droning up. His droning was actually quite late, so he was focusing on army without getting much workers, so we'll have to see if he actually has enough here, since he didn't have many workers in the early phases to build a strong army now.
Yeah, exactly, and here comes the potential timing again from our Protoss. It seems like here for Thouclao, he's really just syncing it up with his upgrades. Goes for the Blink Stalker, gets it in time, and it will be a big component of this fight. 80 army though to 69, really will be all about the positioning, because for now, RagingDino setting up with a few banelings here and there as well. Not gonna be too potent in terms of the composition, but it will help out to get that splash for damage along the way. Ravager's gonna be absolutely huge as well. Biles will be the biggest deal. But something to note though, it's all that debris being taken down, and here on Simulacrum, the siege to the high ground is the hardest one of all. Sports Field right now to try and mitigate that damage, to mitigate that push, to prevent the Swarm from going this way around, and it seems like it's a push-pull that ends with the Protoss backing on out.
Yeah, huge lead for Dark and Pure here, since he got pushed and then he still went for the 7 meters on 75 drones, so it's actually really greedy, and most Protosses probably would have ended the game here, but since Misfanda wasn't able to, because of this map, he can't push up the ramp. Dark and Pure's got a huge lead because now he has map control with a mutas, he can counterattack, he can start harassing workers, and there's not much that Misfanda can do about it. He can't take a 4th base, he's going to start his +2 and his robotics base, so he's maybe going to go into disruptors, but it's going to be a really tough game from now on.
Templar Archives going online as well, maybe some high temp later on, or a few more Archons along the way. But as you said, the Mute is going to be very good for the harassment, and already took down the Warp Prism. So this is going to be very tough for our Protoss player, because Thouclao will have no real quick ways of reinforcements if he does go for the counterattack. He's probably going to use that rogue facility for many bigger things like the Colossus, and there you go. Here goes the Force Fields though, good catch out onto the Roaches, and what a punish there from the Protoss player. Seems like though, in behind, the Banelings trying to go for the push. The opponent cannons are in position, the Probe's gonna get pulled along the way, will survive for the time being. Actually right now on the south side, Bal will go fly up in the distance as well. And overall though, it's really these two-pronged attacks from both of these players trying to get some more and more value.
Yeah, very large bang for Dark and Pure here, so he's just trying to figure out what exactly he wants to max out on. Probably going to be a mixture of Ravagers and Banelings until he gets to the Great Aspirer and Broodlord, so we'll have to see. It's all going to come down to whether Misfanda can execute a Stalker Colossus push once his Colossus start coming out and his +3 finishes before the Broodlords come out. As soon as the Broodlords come out, the Zerg player is going to have a pretty big lead in terms of army, and we'll see whether he can push and kill the Protoss.
Oh no, though, the natural wall is not going to get sealed whatsoever, and it is going to be infiltration here for RagingDino. He's going to get the push on over immediately. In the meantime, Blink Stalkers to try and go for the reaction. Probes though going down already all the way onto the main base. The mule harassment is happening there. In the meantime, it's a very tough funnel. Has to use the Blink Stalkers to get on through. Has to use the Blink to just try and defend things. But as you said, with the mutas surviving, with the mutas being used to harass, this is going to be looking a little tougher, even more so for our Protoss player.
Yeah, the Zerg's not got a very high supply, but his army supply is quite low, and he's just waiting to see exactly what the Protoss army is going to consist of before he decides to go into a particular army, like constitution, like Banelings or Ravagers or whatever. So in this case, he's going to probably focus on more of the Ravagers, and as we see more Lings in production as the Great Aspire starts. So he's going to focus on more of a Baneling composition to stop the Protoss from pushing and not taking a 4th base. And then he's going to get Broodlords out, and the Protoss will have a really tough time pushing.
Yeah, looks like it. He already got that hive, and he also will go for the macro hatch onto his main. 4 bases right now, can go for a 5th, but for now, it seems like though he's going to need a little more gas along the way. Still for Thouclao trying to go on the outside, trying to go for the push. He knows that he is going to be behind on that work count. We'll go for another Nexus point immediately. 4 bases to 4 to try and round things up. And well, it seems like though it is a pretty big Protoss Deadpool that might not be ready for what is to come from the Zerg.
Yeah, especially since these Baneling runways keep coming in, it's going to be harder for Misfanda even to push across the map since he has to keep some of him to not lose all his probes. And a good pull from Misfanda so he doesn't actually lose that many, and he pushes back the Zerg army at the front. So now is Misfanda's big opportunity to push across as he starts moving his Colossus across. And it's going to hit probably a timing before Broodlords are out. Actually, he stays in the middle, so this might be a big mistake from Misfanda as Broodlords are about to start. And we'll have to see if he can actually get through it.
I think he's waiting for his +3 because have you seen from Thouclao, he really times it to T to actually go on the outside to go for the attack when he gets either the ability upgrade or the +1 along the way. So as you said, it might hurt him though. Speaking of the hurting, here comes the Banelings again going for the chase, and these roly-poly lolies really don't stop rolling, don't they? They are unrelenting. And as a Zerg player, what's the best way to really increase that Baneling efficiency?
So it's all about setting them in at multiple angles at once, or attacking the main army at the same time. As long as you can split up the Protoss' attention, you'll always get damage in one situation. The Protoss can't defend them all at the same time. So in this case, Dark and Pure has only been hitting the 3rd base and not hitting the front at the same time. So Misfanda's had a pretty good job at pulling his probes back, but it's still been drawing his attention away, and he hasn't been pushing during all of this, even though his +3 is done. So it's still been worth it with the Baneling run bys, but I would have liked to see him doing a Baneling drop in the main or doing a Baneling drop in the natural and the third and something like that.
Yeah, he's like taking the hardest road because this is the base with photon cannons, with shield batteries, and with some warp gates along the way to try and defend. But as you said, honestly, just a small thing here from Dark, if you're from RagingDino, it does not allow Miss Fanta or Thouclao to do anything else but go for standard harassment. He's gonna go for the DTs right now, and he's gonna notice that something invisible is striking the hatchery, and everyone is just watching it die. But finally though, seems like the attention gonna be on the other side as well, and this is the Protoss finally moving on out to begin with. He already has his +3 online, he has the external thermal lance to boot, keeping those Colossi in the middle, but the Brood Lords are coming, going for the pokes, going for the harassment. Will he go for the blink in to try and go for the aggro? It might be a bait and switch because here comes the rest of the Flyers looking to get in position. Blink to get on back, using the Colossi to stay on that high ground to melt down those Broodlings as much as possible. But the hurting is here, the pain, the suffering is happening, and here we go with the blink forward. Instead, the least range though hurting the Zerg right here, right now. Corrupt is gonna go into the fray. Banelings though in behind yet again, looking for the cascade here and now. And actually, it's Miss Fanta winning out into the clash, getting so much concentration fire there onto the Broodlord, shutting them down in CQC.
Yeah, there's a huge bank for Duck and Pure though, so he should be able to raybacks on links as long as he doesn't lose too many more Broodlords. This Protoss army shouldn't be very good going into the future, as 53 bros for the Protoss only. As Dark Templar have killed 16 workers on the third, and he loses all the Broodlords to a blink in. Oh my goodness, Miss Fanta's overpowering the Zerg army.
He's just going for it, and GG gonna get called. That was one thing I wanted to ask you. What would you do if the Stalkers blinked in? And apparently, I got my answer. Miss Fanta, Thouclao taking that first victory with hardcore aggression. It feels like it was just absolute balls to the wall. And sometimes when you smack those balls, it just works out in your favor.
Yeah, very close. Dog and Pure just slightly overextending with the Broodlords at the end. If you'd sit on creep with more Ling Bane and had a few infestors to fungal the Stalkers so they can't blink in, or after they blink in, they can't blink out, stuff like that, then the Broodlords get to do their damage and you get to micro them back and they don't die. But in this case, he only had like 7 or 8 Broods. The Stalkers can blink in, there's not that much on the ground, and he gets to pick off Broodlords and then gets to overpower the army as he's killing all the drones with Dark Templar. So, very good play from Miss Fanta right at the end there.
Yeah, the position, honestly, the pace position onto the high ground, make it there, because I was asking myself at the very start, it's like, why didn't just blink in to try and go for the punish? Of course, the Mutas and the Corruptus flew in, but it really was just all about the setup there. If he did that in the first place, he put himself in harm's way on the creep, and as you said, when the creep is there, allows the Zerglings and the Banelings to go for the round better, and with the blink on cooldown, that would have been a punish there. But instead, the Broodlords flew in, and they're really slow. They're very, very slow. They're the kind of chunky boys that are trying to go back to the gym, but it's first things first, it's the quarantine, and they can't really go for it, so they use it as an excuse, but they're still pretty chunky and throw things at you. So the Broodlords do get caught there, and the rest is history. He tries to go for another cycle, and they got caught again. The DPS is there, and there you go. Victory goes over to Thouclao.
Yeah, usually in these cases, you have to make the decision between making Broods or just staying on Ravager Bane, because a maxed out Ravager Bane can kill the Colossus Stalker army. In order to kill it with Broods, you need like 15 to 20 Broods, and in this case, he was only on 75 workers, so his economy probably wasn't good enough to actually support the large Brood count that he needed. So maybe in this case, just with Ravager Bane, it might have been a better decision just to fight the army straight up. But yeah, in this case, Brood Lord's not the highest it counts, so he gets blinked on and dies.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you know, the Broodlords, especially with the range, how they are. How do you feel about Broodlords now? They aren't really as, I mean, it's been a while, obviously, and you've been playing her a lot. But how did it feel going to that lesser range and all the leash antics and the like? How did it feel to transition to something so different in terms of how it feels?
Well, I think Artosis put it best in one of the most recent GSLs, where he said he hasn't seen a Protoss just die to Broods in like a year, because it's, remember maybe a year or so ago,
Yeah.
whenever the Zerg got Broodlords, the Protoss would just kind of die because he didn't have Stargate Tech on the way and he was all letting before Hive. The Broodlords come out and he just kind of dies. That doesn't really happen as much anymore because the Infestor has so much less of a role. The Broodlord range, just as you mentioned, means that they have to overextend versus Tempest and just die. So the Broodlord is more of a defensive unit now, or a a timing-oriented aggressive play where you morph Broodlords on your opponent's side of the map. They're less of a I make these and now I win kind of unit.
That's true, you know. It was such a tried and tested composition way back then. Broodlords and Festers, you win the game basically. You win the game against everything and anything because you toughed it out and made it to that point. But it seems like our second map is going to be underway, and it will be Zen LE. So Simulacrum taken down there by Thouclao, our Pro player, taking the first victory. And we are all set and ready to go for game number 2. So for Zen, a lot tighter on the map, can play the aggression pretty handily. I love seeing, you know, how different this map feels, and I understand why people don't want to play it, but at least it's not purity and industry, that's for sure. Oh, purity and industry. It was funny, like, even in GSL, they banned it, kinda, in a way. They were like, oh, we're not playing that, we're doing something else. I saw it a while ago, I forgot the name of it, but it's like a 4-player map, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's
Obsidian.
Like, Obsidian, like, why? Just everyone hates it. How about you? It's just so gimmicky, actually. But first things first, let's get into the next game. First, 1-point lead here for Thouclao. Our Proas player just needs to take Zen to take this match.
Yeah, so in the bottom left, the Zerg player, the blue Zerg, down 1-0 in a pretty close game. It's Dark and Pure.
Yes, sir. RagingDino gonna be there. And on the top right, here and now, that's a Golden Protoss, gonna be looking pretty shiny. One map ahead, it is our Vietnamese player, Thouclao. Yeah, Zen, no, screw that. We'll talk about Purity Industry. So yeah, Purity Industry, what do you think about that map? We were on Zen right now, guys, but back to just the topic, because we are basically gonna get some standard play right now, unless we do see something really cheeky for RagingDino. No, he goes for hatch first. Okay, we're pretty much safe to talk about anything for like 2 minutes. Anyway, Purity Industry, what is so wrong about that map? Why is it so hated?
Well, mostly ZVT, but I'll put that on hold for 1 second, as it looks like Miss Fanda's going for a 1-base play, because he's going 2 gas on 1 base. We might see the Forge right here as he goes for a Robo play. We'll have to see. It's going to be the double gate, so it's going to be a bit of an aggressive play, but talking about Purity, mostly the ZVT matchup, as drops and BCs are a lot harder to defend with all the empty airspace and the short air rush distance, and the mech in the matchup makes it very easy to split the map. I'm not actually very sure on the ZVP matchup because I haven't seen it played a single time on this map pool, to be honest, since I V2 the map and pretty much every Zerg does as well. So I think it probably isn't that bad for Zerg, but the 4th base is very, I think, pretty hard to defend, so that might be kind of tricky for the Zerg player as he gets hit by pre-hive timings.
It's kind of awkward just how it kind of it tries to be Eternal Empire, but it really isn't, and you can only use like one third of the map in full. So yeah, it is what it is, and I get, and just the whole air dynamic is a temptation that people do fall for, and they get punished for it, because when they try to retreat, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a slow field and nothing's gonna happen there. So it seems like we are gonna get double pump adepts. No Warp as of yet here for Thouclao, and it might be the 1 base that you're talking about, just going for the adepts all the way through to the other side here on Zen. If I remember correctly, this is one of the smallest maps in our pool, and it will be a shorter distance and a shorter timing to get on through to the other side.
Yeah, it's very interesting what Miss Fan is doing. Usually when I see this 2-gate build, I expect a bunch of shield batteries outside my base, and Protoss is a build where they shade in the depths and they shade back out to their shield batteries and just get infinite damage and try and whittle the Zerg down over time. But he's actually going to be playing more of a macro style with 2 sentries on the way, so very interesting that he's skipping tech completely, and he's just going to harass with these 2 adepts and maybe force an over-response from Dark and Pure, as you already see like 10, 12 Zerglings already. So that's 12 Zerglings that could have been 6 drones just to defend these adepts.
Yeah, exactly. He really timed it right to a point that he waited for the Overlord to show up and be like, hey, you know, I'm chrono boosting these things. He knows the timing of the Overlord to make it through to his base, and it really is going to be a big warning sign there for RagingDino. If he didn't really go for the response like that, he might have been punished immediately, but for now, it can be a potential here for the Protoss to take the max lead, because he is up on the workers already. He has the sentries to play defensive, and here on Zen, first things first, you wall up that first ramp, and then you just put some force fields on the second, and you're pretty much good to go on 2 bases yet again.
Yeah, and Twilight Council comes down, and the Ripper.
Oh, the Zerglings, so they actually get on through, but we're all good, we're good, you know. I thought everything was gonna get through, got the force field in time, but as you said, Twilight Council gonna be going on up, and it's a fruitless endeavor here for the Zerglings, headbutting their way to try and get on through. But anyway,
Yeah, the really funny thing about running Zerglings in versus the Protoss that has sentries is often, even if you can get in, you don't want to, because then the force field splits off 6 lanes and traps them inside, so you actually lose more than if you just hadn't committed at all. So Miss Fanta might have actually been baiting the Zerg in there just to trap the Lings and get them for free, rather than force field and then the Lings run away as they're outside. But it's going to be a glaive play from the Protoss, so we'll have to see if Doc Impure sniffs it out, which I'm sure he will, because the Twilight Council's right on the front wall, and if he has a good response.
And I like that he's gonna go for the Observer first this time. It's gonna be very, very useful, especially on a map like this. He can potentially get sightlines on up to 2 bases at once onto the main out of the natural, or on a ramp of his choosing to try and get through to the other side. Creature tumors not being spread, you know, seeing the worm of the creep tumor actually on the outside because it's going from high ground to low. It's kind of disgusting. It kind of looks like, you know, one of those worms on YouTube that you see and you squeeze it out of your tummy. That's pretty gross. Anyway, though, glade timing is gonna be very, very soon. 10 seconds in, he's already moving on out with the adepts. The warp prism, of course, is gonna be a little later because he went for the obs first. So it seems like he's gonna get in position first with the adepts, set up for the warp prism to get the reinforcements. And if RagingDino, I believe he already sees this coming, he can react accordingly with more of an army response yet again.
Yeah, quite strange that Miss Fanta opts for the Observer. It's like he's preparing for the next patch when the Creep Tumors are going to go light instead and they'll take more damage from the Adepts. So he can actually warp in extra Adepts here and he might lose all of these as he's playing macro behind with the Templar Archons in the way. So these Adepts are really all he has in terms of aggression towards the Zerg. So if Dark Impure makes too many Roaches versus this very non-committal push from Miss Fanta, he might be in a world of hurt.
Oh, he does go for the warp in immediately to get the natural, but he gets shut down, and that's a pretty painful loss, honestly, for our Protoss player. He only got 5 drones over on that overall. Not really the best push there. And I was saying a while ago, I did like the obs because of, yeah, he could go for the cleanup on the creep so he won't get surrounded, but he put himself in harm's way. He was literally like, hi, I'm here. I'm on your land, and Dark Impure was just like, get off my property, push you back, and he didn't really have enough of an army to make sure that the monster house is gonna be fended off yet again. Warp Person right now going over to the left hand side will get those adepts to get out of dodge as well. In the meantime, some drones going down, and in behind all of this, we are gonna get Charge Lot versus the standard reconstitution here for our Zerg player.
Yeah, the really tough thing about the glaive hold-ins when the Protoss gives away all their Adepts for drones is sometimes it looks like an okay trade. Like in this case, you got, what, 9 drones in total from the 7 Adepts? The thing is, the Zerg isn't scared of a follow-up push. There's no +1 on the way. Charges isn't even halfway done because the Protoss commits so much to the tech of getting glaives and so much resources into it. The Zerg can actually drone for free in most cases all the way up to 66 and get a huge economic lead even though he traded pretty decently with the glaives.
Yep, exactly. And just something to note also is he's trying to basically show that he's in an all-in situation, or he's going to be playing super aggressive in a way, but behind all of this, it really feels like that Thouclao wants to do something else. He wants to go for a third base, he wants to go into a different kind of build, and it's really, really weird right now because at least though he's getting some good value here with the Adepts yet again. We'll get 5 of those drones one more time. But behind all of this, it really is just Dark Impure pretty chill about what's going on. Okay, you took down my drones, but I know there isn't going to be any follow-up, as you say. There we go with this round, we'll get that takedown. And he sees an upcoming third base with a lot of sentries protecting it, so he's pretty secure that nothing is going to be coming his way, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for another expansion.
Yeah, a lot of drones actually going down that Dark Impure can't really afford to lose at this point. Being even on workers with a glaive adept player that's on 2 bases at this point is actually pretty scary because their army value is so much higher per supply, and then at the same time, Miss Fanta has 1.5 times the army supply of the Zerg player. So his army is almost 2 times better at this point. If Miss Fanta can hit a good timing, he might just kill Zerg outright.
Yeah. That's really it. It feels like though it's a ticking time bomb, and we don't know when it's gonna explode, but for our Zerg player, he's feeling a little secure in a way that, okay, it's not gonna explode anytime soon, but as soon as we say that, you know, he needs the upcoming boss. Oh my god, the odds do get blown up. That's really good value there, actually. That's a economic pass that works out in their favor, and I believe the Warp Prism has gone down as well, so goodbye to the harassment, goodbye to all the issues in behind. And at least, that is just gonna be some security and some happiness here for our Zerg player.
Yeah, Zerg can just drone for free at this point. There's no War Prism even on the way for the Protoss, and he's not making any additional probes either. So he might be... He's taking the extra gases too, and a bunch of idle probes. Misfender's kind of messing up his macro here. He's still down on workers and not building any additional ones, even though he's playing a macro game. I don't think he expected to lose all his Zealots just to a few Banelings.
Hey, you know, sometimes the great things come in small packages, and well, for Dark Imperial RagingDino, that is gonna be a great burst of acid connecting. It seems like the charge lot just running into that one as per usual. Here we go though with the Banelings trying to decide what really is gonna be the target, and he moves on through to the other side, goes for the smash. Not really the most value there against an army comp like that, so at least he gets a little bit out of that one. Some Stalkers quite low, the Immortals taking a little bit of HP damage, but overall it really is just too tanky there for those Banelings to handle.
It's so funny, the 4 HP Archon in the front that Dark Imperial didn't kill because he thinks it's a hallucination, whereas that's a huge benefit for Misfender if that can heal up. That's so much extra value as he recalls it actually, because he's getting run by into the main. There's no wall at the front, and there's gonna maybe start killing probes. And Misfender has to go home.
He did. He already went home. It was like, you think he's gonna go home, he already sent himself through the mail, put a snap on himself, and he is ready to go. So a good run on by there, bringing everything along. And sometimes, as you see from a few pros players actually, they put up a pylon when they know they are gonna be going on the outside. It only costs 25 minerals overall if you go for the cancel if need be, and it's a pretty safe way to make sure that, okay, my macro, or my macro might slip a little. I might not pay attention to my base when I go for the attack, and it's a good safety net that the Protoss can actually go for at any point in time. So instead, he gets the recall again, and it's shades of Simulacrum one more time here, Oreo. It really feels like it's just these small little things that RagingDino is doing, and Thouclao is taking it in face value and more, that he's gonna be staying all the way back at home.
Yeah, and Muta's actually coming to the main base now. Dark Imperial's in a really good spot. His worker count's 66 and he's making more. He sees this charge lot run by at the front side, and the Stalker is getting warped in now as he might be doing a Bane pressure to the third base. Everything seems to be going well for the Zerg player.
Yeah, even if in the face of adversity, things just fall into his place. We talk about the drone harassment, Warp Prism goes down, we see the Zealots being warped in and having the concentration, it's just the Banelings going there. And the Muta's basically able to harass 2 bases for the cost of half of them. It's not too bad, honestly, just running on around, making the Protoss stay at home. And for Dark Imperial, he can go for a little more macro. He's at 17 workers right now, looking to take the lead on the armor count as well. And our Zerg player running away with this by this point.
Yeah, as he gets up to 73 workers and beyond, and Protoss is only just making additional workers now and still in 3 bases on 52 workers, he's going to have to do a big push and just pray that he kills the Zerg before Broodlords are out. But at this point, Zerg isn't even going for Broodlords. He's staying on a pretty all-in army composition. He should just be able to smash this Protoss army if it ever tries to come across the map.
Yes, sir. And especially with the creep actually getting closer and closer all the way to the half-point mark. He's going to go for a few Corruptors here and there as well. Can potentially go for the Broodlords later on, as you said, because he already has the Hive deck in hand. But I don't think he has the Greater Spar at this point. But anyway, though, it's going to be a duel onto the 4th base, and it seems like for RagingDino, he's just going to be giving that one up for free. Doesn't really want to contest, doesn't want to lose his army as of yet, because our Protoss player has warped in a pretty big number, and he is going to have the High Templar with Psystorm ready to go to get the shutdown on.
Yeah, I'm worried for the Zerg player because Dark Imperial didn't start the greatest by, I'm not sure if he intended to, because he has 5 Corruptors already done, which is a lot of Banes that he's missing out. A huge storm on the Banelings! Gets every single Baneling! Oh my god, these storms are ridiculous!
Big storms right there. You know, you press a button and you erase everything. It's like a magic eraser sometimes, and you just say goodbye to your problems on the small side. All the Banelings getting torn apart, and this time there is no magic Baneling count that helps out RagingDino. Let's start to go for a run by. Just pretty much gets blown up to go for that scout. Carapace +1 gonna be going online very, very soon, but by this point in time, it's just way too much big sources of damage on the side of our Protoss player. And Thouclao, though, he's losing probes somewhere on the map. He's lost 20 of them actually, yeah. And now he's pretty much in the hole. Again, we see the Banelings getting value, and that is just ridiculous, because now, even though it's another imposing force from our Protoss, if he loses this, it's pretty much game 7 match.
Yeah, if Zerg can just hold on 3 bases and then stabilize as he takes an additional 2 expansions with his 72 drones, he'll be in a huge lead. Dark Imperial has to survive, and then he'll be in a decent spot. But here comes the fight, the storms. Oh, they get pretty good connections as they die to the storms. The Ravages, let's see if the Biles can land. They're pretty decent. Is Zerg actually pushing the Protoss back?
It seems like Zerg might be overextending there. Could have gone for a little bit of the push-pull antics, and the Baneling's in behind, getting some really good damage, forcing the Storms to actually connect onto his own units. But overall, though, the Zerg just a little overstaying his welcome and really releasing his hand there and then. And now for Miss Fanta, for Thouclao, he's gonna go for the push here, and now doesn't really care that his units are quite low because he's gonna get +2, and GG will be called. The Protoss gets the punish when he was the one getting punished yet again. And what an interesting dynamic in this game. It really feels like there were so many times where the lead was just tossed to the other side, and in the end it was just tossed back. Seems like they know how to pass the rock, but this is a 1v1 game, so you shouldn't be passing the rocks to your opponents.
Yeah, I think that Dark Computer was just caught off guard by the fact that Miss Fanta was still on 3 bases with no probes the entire time. I think he thought that it was a macro game, and he went up to 75 drones, was thinking, oh yeah, I'll just make units, and then I'll get into brews, and it'll be a macro game. And then the 50 probe all-in hits, and he has no units, and the army supply is 150 to 100 in favor of the Zerg, but 50 supply of it is in drones, and he just dies to the army.
So it's so heartbreaking sometimes, and well, I mean, it was a good try. I would say it was a really good try there from RagingDino. It seems like though he just a little bit on the decision making sometimes, and on the execution front, it kind of hurts him in the end. And that is gonna be a victory there for our Protoss, just able to really get things so done on 2 of those 3 maps. So hey, in the best of 3, if you get 2-0, then we're not gonna be playing it whatsoever. It's such a waste because we could have gotten a really good map there, Oreo. We really would have gotten such a great map for our 3rd map. But we'll look at those map results yet again. Simulacrum and Zen taken there by Thouclao. Purity and Industry apparently not getting played. So close. So close. But it happens sometimes. So close.
Yeah, I think both of those games were really, really good from Dark and Pure. Like, I'm pretty sure Dark and Pure is like 4.7, 4.8 on the ladder, whereas Thouclao, he's almost 5.5 usually, 5.6. So the skill gap, I think, on a normal day is pretty huge. Yet, in these games, it really looked like the Zerg was putting up a good fight.
Yeah, it really feels like there was just that one small thing that made him trip in the end. Because we talked about even his greedy builds working in his favor, and like the mutas staying alive, him just defending all the way there, just making sure everything is fine and dandy, and keeping his opponent at bay. But that is our second round 2 matchup coverage. We will be moving into the semifinals very soon, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. This is the Out Weekly number 35, pretty much your weekly dose of SEA action. We'll see you guys in just a bit.